Good day, folks. Welcome back to the farm. It's actually a really beautiful day here today. We've got it's beautiful warm weather. Lily's saying good morning too. And it's not too warm, it's not too cloudy, it's not too wet. And we're not just roasting out of our shoes. One thing, last night, sad news coming out of the farm here last night. Carmen and I have been married for 10 years now, and our 10-year anniversary is it's just like a week away. And we were going to go on a tour of the Okanagan for our 10-year anniversary. And kind of a weird take on the traditional winery tour. We're going to do a creamery tour, stop for ice cream, every little town along the way. But if you look out on the horizon here, that's as close as we are to BC, right? Is where the horizon is. Those aren't clouds. That's not clouds. That's smoke coming from hundreds of wildfires. They're burning in the province of BC right now. So last night we pulled the trigger and we canceled our trip. Not canceled the trip. We're still going to go somewhere, but unfortunately, our route through Kelowna, the highway is closed. Kamloops all up in through the west side of Revelstoke. Kind of the whole area we're going to go to is just on fire. Very scary. Absolutely heartbroken for some of those people. And we thought it best, it's not going to be any benefit whatsoever for us to go there. And chances are the people that live there probably need those hotel rooms for evacuation centers. So we decided we're going to do something very different. Probably come down through Jasper, Banff, end up in Calgary, and take Charlotte to the zoo. So I'm just in here, in behind the shop, beside the house, chicken house, all this stuff's here with these rows of trees. Adjacent to the rows of trees, there's this grassy area that is, well, not used for anything. Not that it's not useful, it's just not used. And I thought, well, in a year where we've got a terrible drought, how can we make use of it? And the best way was to rig up this electric netting all the way along and let our rams graze in here. But because the rams are really good at putting pressure on electric fences, and they're a little bit more resistant or persistent perhaps when it comes to getting electric shocks, I thought I would come down here and check the fence. Now what I found was not what I expected. What I expected was that fence was going to lean the other way from them pushing on it. But I see that it's tipped over here. And what I think happened most likely is our old blind dog Miko probably came over. Ooh, that's spicy. Probably came over and ran into it. And as you can see, that bottom peg is completely bent over. So definitely something of some size ran into that with a lot of force. Now, I did not turn this fence off, which I should have. That was a stupid move. Did not turn this fence off, and I've been shocked 2 or 3 times just pulling that post out. But I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to straighten that leg, and we'll get this thing back in the ground so that we don't lose any security. We got it there, straightened out now. Let's get it stabbed in there. Poke back in the ground nice and tight. We're in business. Now, I've had lots of folks ask about my high-tech Redneck pool heater, and it's exactly that. It's a propane-fired hot water on-demand heater system with a shallow well jet pump. Now, the challenge we ran into with this was this thing, when it's shipped from China, comes with a built-in 20-minute timer. So inside there's a circuit board with a timer relay set for 20 minutes. I don't know if it's on Chinese time or whatever, but it turns out it's like 18 3/4 minutes. It's not even really 20 minutes. But nevertheless, I wanted to bypass that so we could continually heat for a while to get the pool nice and warm. Now, I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm not even close. I can wire in a 120 plug pretty effectively, but that's pretty much the extent of my capabilities. So I'm not cracking into any circuit boards. So initially what I thought, because this thing senses where the water stops and the water starts. Now, if the water stops at 18 minutes for 30 seconds or whatever, and then starts back up again, this thing's gonna reset the timer and away we go. Bob's your uncle, we're in business. So I thought, well, maybe I could get a garden hose sprinkler timer and run it in line, and it would just run and then shut off and then reset itself and turn back on, and we'd be in business. Anyway, so Went to the Home Depot, went to Canadian Tire. Turns out can't get any of this stuff. Can't get anything for sprinklers, believe it or not, unless you're getting like the $2 ones that are just completely garbage. Definitely can't get anything high tech like that. So what I ended up doing was I had an old electrical timer from back when I used to work away from home lots and I was by myself. So I had this timer in the living room that would turn on random lights around the house to make it look like somebody was home. Now, yeah, it's just a simple NOMA multi-timer, and you can set like 15 different timers on here. So I thought, well, that works pretty darn slick, because you can set 15 timers, 15 20-minute timers. So I mean, that heater can run for quite some time. And all you really gotta do is just come out here and check, make sure nothing's burning down, make sure you're not melting a hole in the side of your pool, and it works good. The only disadvantage is this is not weatherproof, so I gotta put a ice cream pail or something over here to keep the rain off of it. But that's essentially how we're keeping our pool warm. The other challenge I had was, because this jet pump, we don't have that much hose, I had it sitting on top of the picnic table, and then the suction was coming out of the pool. But every time the pump would shut off, all the water would drain back in because it didn't have a foot valve. So that's why I just put it down on the seat. Now it's got to go up and over, so it never actually loses prime, because it always keeps water in this section of the hose. So when it kicks on again, boom, it just automatically has suction. Small little things. Again, I'm not an electrical engineer, but I can figure some stuff out. Donkeys are saying good morning too. Anyways, maybe you're wondering, what does the pool have to do with homesteading? That's a little bit bougie, isn't it? Well, in fact, I got that pump when we were living in our RV in the middle. This was a field. This was a cattle pasture, essentially. And we lived just on the other side of where the campers park now, believe it or not. We looked out over the lake to the south of us. It was beautiful, built a lot of character. It was fantastic, but we were really limited on water because you only had what water would fit in the tank of the RV. And having to run back and forth to town, pack water, all that stuff, we knew was not an option. Good morning, Lily. So what we ended up doing was we bought that shallow well jet pump and this water trailer as a all-in-one purchase. So an older couple had used this combination for their cabin that they had. I think it was at a lake or a river or something like that. We thought, yes, this is fantastic. I can fill this full of water, bring it up. It's got a pressure switch in it, so I didn't even need to fill the tank on the trailer. I could basically run completely out of this tank into the city water connection, and we were in business. Now I'll use it to water trees, to water animals. That's in fact what it's here for right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead, open that up, and top up the water for Lily here. So we just picked Lily up the other day. She was at a horse trainer out by Dawson Creek. And so you'll see in the next couple of days here, I'm gonna have to get her saddled up and go for a ride. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. That's what they tell me. And I'm not much of a horse guy, but if you're gonna have them, they gotta have a purpose, right? So I just want to leave you with a little bit of a lesson for the day, because the question comes up, and it comes up often for folks that are just getting set up in this, is that if they are able to acquire land, can they purchase some animals and have those animals graze on the land or live on the land, and while they live remotely, off in town or whatever, while they're working their 9 to 5, and they come in at whatever frequency, evenings, weekends, whatever that might look like, to tend to and care for the animals. Now, in our application, I will say in our application that doesn't work, specifically because of slippage, right? We have a lot of mortality issues. Some of those are environmental, some of those are predatory, anytime that we're not around. Now, that's not to say that, it's impossible. That's not to say that it can't be done. And I think the answer to that question, oftentimes, especially if you put it out there on the internet, really gets shot down very, very quickly. And, a lot of people are limited by other people's capabilities, essentially, because the comment comes out and then they're too scared to try simply because somebody else told them it wouldn't work, even though that problem probably hasn't existed for that other person and they probably haven't even tried to do it themselves. And so I heard something today, and it just made total sense to me. It's that bees don't waste their time explaining to flies why honey tastes better than shit. So I just want you to remember that the next time somebody's trying to crush your dreams with their own incapability. Essentially, 10 years ago, when Carmen and I were getting married, I was so broke. I mean, we're talking food or power broke. Like, you know, you're making some pretty tough choices, and here we are now. I mean, we're not rich by any means, but we live comfortably, and we have the farm, we have our animals, and that's just hard work and perseverance, and earmuffs, essentially, just blocking out you know, the fears of other people. And you know, some might say, well, that's common sense, but you know what? I don't think so. I think that common fears and common sense are two very, very different things. So, anyways, that's my wisdom that I'm going to leave you with for this evening. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.